What's up, A to Z Sports Nashville? Easton Freeze, Titans beat writer here in Mobile, Alabama at the Senior Bowl, joined by my friend, Marcus Whitman. Marcus, thanks for sitting down with me, man. I appreciate it. We're in between practices here on the third day, watching some guys get after it, and we wanted to start this draft interview series this year talking about the most important position for the Titans to address this offseason, quarterback, what they're going to do potentially at number 1 overall. And there are two guys in that conversation for most folks, Cam Ward, Shedeur Sanders. You've watched both of them.
Yes, sir.
I think you got videos out on both of them.
I do.
So if you want to hear more than you're going to hear today after this, go to Marcus's YouTube channel, which we'll plug in a minute, and watch those. But we were talking yesterday about this, and I said, what if we just sat down and recorded it? Because there are differing opinions. You are, I think, pretty clearly in on one more than the other.
Yes.
So what is your 10,000-foot view of Cam Ward versus Shedeur Sanders purely as prospects? Not
Sure.
addressing fit, just looking at them agnostically as guys that could be NFL quarterbacks.
So it's been really fun. I was out at the Shrine Bowl as well in Dallas, and it's been really fun talking to so many people that have watched the film and people that I respect their opinions. And it really is a split. And as someone that's does have a big difference between someone like Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders, it's very important, I think, to listen to these people. And as myself, I'll get into it. But, it's these quarterbacks are really tough to know how things are going to land. So it is important to note that. But I do see Cam Ward as just a much higher overall upside player. And when we're talking about the number 1 overall pick, I do think back to guys maybe like a Daniel Jones, or where I was at with someone like Tua Tagovailoa, where are they going to be a difference maker with that pick? Because the context just changes when it enters that scale.
Right.
And with Cam, I'm a big pocket presence guy. Like when the pressure's breaking down, when the pocket's breaking down and pressure picks up, do you feel that space back there? Do you know how to navigate? It's something that Will Levis just never really had.
I was say Titans fans know what it doesn't look like.
Exactly. If you want to know what I'm not describing, it's Will Levis.
Right.
And I liked Will Levis, but that was the big knock on him. It really, really hurt him.
Just no feel for it.
And it's not that Shedeur doesn't have that, but Cam is really special. He really does have that individual trait is kind of the Mahomesian thing. And
it's not just mobility, right? That's just
exactly.
That's just basic pocket movement that any NFL athlete is capable of. It's a cerebral thing. It's not a physical thing.
Tom Brady is one of the best ever at it.
Right.
I like to say it's a paranormal sense that some quarterbacks have, and that is what stands out big time with Cam Ward. And he doesn't have the biggest arm or the most athletic guy out there, but when it comes to play extension and adding a little bit more to the table, there's just an upside there with him that's really exciting.
Today's video is brought to you by our new friends at Bart Durham Injury Law. A crash can change your life forever, and help is only a click away at bartdurham.com. At Bart Durham, your big truck wreck is their fight for justice. They've been in business since 1975, so they have half a century of experience dealing with all kinds of wrecks. They're locally operated here in Capitol View, Nashville, but they can fight for anyone in Kentucky or Tennessee who's been in an auto accident. Attorneys are available to meet with you wherever is most convenient, including virtually, and you can reach the Bart Durham team 24/7 to get your legal questions answered. Just call 615-242-9000 and let Bart Durham help today.
And then when it comes to Shedeur, it's not that he doesn't extend plays. Those things are there. But there are those moments where he panics a little bit from clean pockets. Or one thing that bothered me with him was the lack of an awareness against 3-man rushes, where he didn't see a ton of it, but when he did, I want to see guys really utilizing the time that they get in a 3-man rush, because the point of that is you got 8 guys in coverage. You're going to be bottled up. You do need to buy time to get guys open a lot. And that was an area of the game that just did kind of stand out as a difference between me. Shedeur also, I believe, led the entire college football in sacks. He has a tendency to really drop back, where you're going to lose the corner from the edge rushers on those tackles. So just the pocket movement in general was extremely separated those guys big time. Traits wise, they're pretty similar, I would say. Arm talent's pretty close.
I don't think a lot of people see it. I think fans are under a different impression than that. I think they see them as very different players. But
100%.
I'm not sure that they are super different in their just pure physical tools.
Right. And it's Deion's kid, right?
Right.
Like, you're expecting this guy to be like, you know, a Jaden Daniels type, where he's just a freaky athlete and can just out athlete even when he gets in a pinch. And that's not going to be him. He's probably not going to run at the combine. If he does, it'd probably be like 4.7 40. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I've heard that he's not going to.
Yeah, it would be a huge surprise because he didn't throw at the Shrine Bowl and do any of that stuff. So I think there is just a bit of a perception with Shedeur that he's going to be this really athletic guy, that he got those genes from Deion, and it just doesn't really show. So, and then you get into like the mental side of things between the two guys. I do think they're both smart quarterbacks. I want to say that, and I think Shedeur deserves a ton of credit. He plays on time, and there's plenty of room to grow there, obviously, with any young quarterback. But I also will bounce back to Cam Ward. That was an area where I was actually really impressed with a lot of the hard NFL throws that he would make, where he's throwing anticipation throws and putting the ball in a spot before the receiver ever begins their break. And just those are really next level throws that are going to separate a mid-level quarterback and a high-end quarterback. And even if Cam does like to push his luck sometimes, definitely more than Shedeur, I'm willing to live with that at the college level. When you see a guy that is getting better year by year, dramatically better year by year, and I think when you're taking chances, you're gonna learn what you can and can't get away with, and I guess that aggressiveness doesn't bother me as much when you're getting throws that Shedeur just isn't gonna see and attempt. So for me, the processing is similar. But the higher level throws, those anticipation throws, are something that Shedeur is just oftentimes a little bit later on, or not seeing. So obviously that's a pretty like nitty gritty, like dive into kind of the strengths and weaknesses. But to kind of like tie it together and where I'm at on it. For me, like I said, Cam Ward is a guy, I do see the upside. I genuinely did find myself to be higher on the complete player. I saw a lot of Jordan Love. I'm a Packers fan, and I'm very familiar with his play style, and I just continued to come back to that comp. And we don't need to get into Jordan Love, but with where
he's an NFL quarterback,
he's
that's the bar for the Titans right now. Can we get real NFL quarterback
exactly play? And yeah, just keep coming back to that with Cam Ward, where you're probably getting a guy that even if he cleans up some of the turnovers and some of the over aggression, you're still going to get a lot of great plays, a lot of great reads. And as a guy that, if you're talking about like winning Super Bowls and stuff, yeah, you might have some crappy moments during the regular season. You might have some really bad playoff games, but these are the kind of guys that can get hot and go on a 4-game run and just elevate the team and just make these really high-end plays. Shedeur, it's like the processor, okay athlete, plays on time, takes care of the football. I see a lot of stuff I like, but for a guy that is going to have to win really with his mind and the processing, I did just think it was really close between him and Cam Ward, and even a little bit better for Cam Ward. I think there are some things with Colorado's offense, though, just to give Shedeur some credit. We're in a lot of like 4 verticals, right? Like 3rd and 10. And I do think the opportunities for some of those throws that I was talking about, where, he's anticipating the dig route to come in behind a middle linebacker, and he's letting it go before the guy's open. Or even just like timing back shoulders. There's some of that stuff, but there wasn't as much of an opportunity in his final season to show some
breaking news. A college offense makes it annoying to evaluate an NFL quarterback.
Absolutely. So I guess what I'm getting at is like, that's what I saw, but I have talked to a ton of people that I deeply respect their opinions that do have Shedeur Sanders number 1.
Right.
And, it is important to remember, like, some of these guys get to the league and their processing can just take a leap, whether that's you get with a certain coach that just is the right fit, or a scheme change like we talked about. So it's not like, okay, if they pull the trigger on Shedeur, it's not that it's, oh my God, certified absolute bust. I disagree with it. That's not the route I would go. I think you're you're likely buying yourself a ticket to the kind of Kirk Cousins-y world of things. That is a tough place to be. But you never know.
Yeah, as is the nature with quarterback evaluation every cycle. You're watching the games on Saturdays and you're making just like a common fan evaluation of these guys, and your opinion is liable to change 14 times when you watch them in January. And I spent a lot of the fall, because of the way that the Titans were going, people were constantly asking on shows and on the radio, like, what do you think about this quarterback class? And I was somebody, and am still, I think, somebody that sees Shedeur as the better prospect for the Titans. So I'll play a little bit of devil's advocate. As I am, the more people I talk to, like you, who break it down, and I watch more of Cam's stuff for the first time, the actual tape, I am warming on the idea of him a little bit, because of just Jordan Love. I think again, it's not a direct comp, but you see those moments, and that is objectively exciting, even if there are things about him that are frustrating. The thing for me is, does the accuracy difference, you look at on just their advanced metrics, there's a delta there between Shedeur and Cam in terms of their accuracy. And we know that with Shedeur, like I've said, his biggest crime is he's not great at anything. He's like at best a B+ at all of his Madden ratings are all very normal. None of them are terrible, but none of them are superlative. And so he, like you said, he's going to have to win with his processing, with his timing and accuracy. And I think he knows that. I mean, I think he said as much at the Shrine Bowl, but you did see a more accurate passer on paper at Colorado out of Shedeur than you did Cam in Miami.
So I was literally just thinking as you were talking, I didn't talk about accuracy. So thank you for bringing that up.
You are welcome.
And it's important, because Shedeur absolutely does have the plus when it comes to accuracy. And for me, it's not so much that I'm worried about it for Cam. I think I watched 8 games on Cam Ward, and I compared him to Jordan Love. Jordan Love has like really concerning accuracy. So that's so much, that part of the comp, not so much. But,
Right.
So yeah, accuracy on Cam Ward, maybe not so much a huge concern. I think he's fine.
You don't think it's disqualifying?
Right, absolutely. He does throw some dimes on the deep ball and stuff. So like, it's gonna be just fine. But I do think one thing that is really important with Shedeur, and I probably need to do a better job giving him credit on, is really that true ball placement. Because there is a difference, at least for me in my process, between the ball placement and accuracy. Accuracy is much more like percentage of throws that were catchable and there, whereas ball placement is like, do you understand you need to leverage this throw in a certain way, whether you're stacking a corner on a go ball and you need to leave it to the outside shoulder,
right?
Or even just throwing a crossing route, and you want to make sure you're leaving it consistently right in front of them to maximize run after catch opportunities. I do think not only on the film do you see exceptional ball placement more often than not with Shedeur, I do think it is something that he really does value in terms of his process and how he prepares. It's something that Tom Brady was just so big on, like, where the ball lands is the difference between so many different scenarios, whether it's a first down or your guy getting crushed or whatever. I do think Shedeur is very conscious of that, and something he's even working on to improve. And it's a big plus, and I could see that being a big selling point for the people that have him number one.
So that part's clear. Like if Shedeur is going to succeed in the NFL, it's going to be with his anticipation, accuracy, placement.
Yeah,
that has to be the thing for him. Yeah. And I think I want to talk about stylistic fit, because some prospects we have roll through and we just are confident this guy's so good at football, don't worry about it. As long as his OC is not a moron, he will fit into the scheme. And then some guys, you listen to what Brian Callahan has to say about his offense, and he kind of got tilted towards the end of the season. In the sense that he just wants a guy that can operate the offense. Can you just his 3 tenets that he told me last week were decision making, timing, and accuracy, and those are very basic quarterback things. Like, that's quarterbacking 101. The 201 stuff are the wow throws and the incredible athleticism and the pocket management and those things that are important. And if you're going to be great in the NFL, you have to have them. But if you're just going to be serviceable as an NFL quarterback, you have to be able to do those things. I feel like when you watch these two guys play in the context of the Titans having the number 1 pick,
sure,
Shedeur's style fits more with what a Brian Callahan Joe Burrow, Bengals-esque offense would look like,
Yeah.
and what I think he's wanting to run. Not to say that Cam's wouldn't fit in, because we want to talk about a guy that doesn't necessarily fit the idea. Will Levis was not, he signed up for a guy that he knew wasn't the greatest stylistic fit for his offense. Do you think teams should? Do you value that very highly when you're picking number one and you're looking for the future of your franchise, or is it incumbent on the coach to say, let's get the best player, and it's on me to figure that out?
Yeah, I think in a draft like this, where you don't have a Caleb Williams, you don't have a Trevor Lawrence, where it's like, yeah, we're gonna take the guy that's like the true blue chip quarterback prospect, especially in a draft like this, where you're deciding between a couple guys that are like, yeah, maybe we'll take him in the first. Some guys like this guy over the other, and it's really tight. Absolutely, yeah. You got to know your offense. You got to know the throws that you're going to ask these guys to make, and that really does matter. In terms of comparing the guys, I would have the take that I actually did think Cam did the on-time stuff better than I was expecting based on
better than people were giving him credit for.
Absolutely. I do for my grading process, I have a quick processing grade and an advanced processing grade.
Okay, how does that break down?
So the quick processing grade is your first read throws.
Yep.
You hit the top of your drop. Are you consistently on time and not throwing the ball to a defender?
Good call. Yeah.
The advanced processing is going to be second read throws, and it's anticipation throws that I was describing earlier.
Okay.
So the quick processing grades actually came out dead even for me. And I'm probably an outlier on that, but I really was impressed with Cam Ward in that area, and is a big part of me having a bit of a split on them.
So it sounds like you would be comfortable if you were a GM, taking Cam Ward at 1 or not quite?
I would.
Okay.
I would in a bad year when you never know when you're going to have the opportunity to pick a quarterback. But
is that a big? Is that a need thing? Is that it's because of the Titans and because of your options?
I see what you're
you got to do it, or is it I would in any given year take this guy number 1? It feels a little bit more
in the middle.
Okay,
it's
all right.
In the middle.
Okay. So you feel okay about it? You don't feel great about it?
Let me put it this way. I have a very similar grade on Cam Ward as I did on Justin Fields, Anthony Richardson, who I was comfortable with in the top 10 because I thought the upside was there.
Right.
It does just change with the number 1 pick, though. It gets really, really hard. You have to have those conversations about your job security. Do we really need to take this guy now?
Right.
Is this really going to go in the direction we need it to? Do we have that time? The conversation just changes when you're talking about number 1. But if you're sitting there and we got to get a quarterback, we're going to lose our jobs, and it's me in the chair, yeah, I would do it. I would take the bet on the guy. I'm not doing it because I'm totally backed into a wall necessarily. I'm comfortable enough doing it.
Out of curiosity, where would you be comfortable taking Shedeur? Is he ideally top of day 2 for you? Around where Will Levis ended up going?
Back end of 1.
Okay.
Would be my comfort zone there.
Okay.
Because I look at him a little bit closer to kind of how I feel about Kenny Pickett or Daniel Jones coming out
what the fans want to hear.
And Mac Jones.
Not what the fans want to hear.
I know. That's just where I'm at with it, though.
What's the high end?
So
high end comp.
High end comp on Shedeur.
Yeah.
Brock Purdy.
About to make a lot of money.
Yeah.
Been to a Super Bowl.
Tua. I do. I
mixed
think
emotions on that.
There's some similarities between those guys.
Okay.
But for me, it's get the guy.
I'm glad we're getting because our listeners have heard far more love for Shedeur than they have for Cam Ward. I think this is the first.
Yeah.
They're going to hear the argument for Ward, who, as of right now, I'd say, is it fair to say the consensus is a little higher on Ward maybe than Shedeur? It's close, but I'm seeing more people have Ward ahead of Shedeur lately.
This is going to be really interesting to follow because kind of where I led, out here talking to all these football people that are grinding the tape, the public, I think, views Shedeur as 1. You talk to all these people, and even some whispers from how teams feel about, I've heard there's not a team, and this is strictly hearsay, but I've heard there's not a team that has a first round grade on either of these guys. So, but in talking to people, more often than not, I've talked to people who came to the conclusion that Cam is actually a good bit better than Shedeur.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of the same things, and I am interested to see how, because I agree that the public perception and what I've heard from coaches and analysts that I trust, not on the same page right now. Ultimately, I think Titans fans may be a little bit too certain they're going to take a quarterback. I really would not be surprised if they are one of those teams that does not have a first-round grade on either of these guys. They very well may, and they may fall in love with one of them. But I think it's just as likely that they fall in love with some truly unquestionable talent in Travis Hunter or Abdul Carter, or this is a team that could really use picks the next couple of years and move back and do that. So that will be interesting to watch. But thank you for talking about this with me here at the Senior Bowl with 10,000 to jump cuts in this video. If you've made it to the end, you've seen all of the things that have changed. I wasn't wearing a lanyard when we started this. I am now. We're in a different location.
I didn't even think about
You have no
that.
idea. The announcements, the wind, it's been a whole thing. But you have been very kind for giving me your time.
No,
so
this is a ton of fun.
It's great hanging out with you every year down here. And tell the people where they can go and listen to probably a more visually enjoyable version of breakdowns of both of these quarterbacks.
I have like kind of deep dive film breakdowns on both these two guys. They're two of my first draft videos. The channel's That Franchise Guy on YouTube. And we get kind of nitty gritty with it. Just kind of break down the strengths and weaknesses down the board.
It's such good stuff. It's ball knower stuff, man. This
Yeah,
guy knows ball.
absolutely.
Check him out. That Franchise Guy on YouTube. And then on Twitter, same thing. That Franchise Guy. What?
TFG _football.
All right, that's
Yeah.
what's up. All right, we'll
Thanks.
talk to you guys next time.
Thanks for watching, everybody.